multiplicative property of inequality with signed fractions. Solve the inequality for W and simplify your answer as much as possible. So the first thing I want to do, I notice that I have a fraction. The first thing I want to do is get rid of the fraction. So here's how you do that. Negative 8 is greater than or equal to 2W over 5. I want to get rid of the denominator. So you multiply each term by the denominator like this. So 5 times negative 8 is negative 40, is greater than or equal. When you do that, the top cancels with the bottom, so you just have 2W there. You got rid of the fraction. Now your goal is to get W by itself, so the opposite, this is 2 times W, the opposite of times is divide. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2. So it's like half of negative 40. Is negative 20 is greater than or equal, top cancels with bottom again, W. And the W does not have to be out front when you're solving them, only when you're graphing. But we're not doing that right now. Okay, these negatives, I'm going to move them up top. So I'll call it a negative W over 4 is less than negative 9 over 2. I want to get rid of the denominators. So since you have more than one fraction, you have to multiply each term by the common denominator, which would be 4. The least common multiple is another way of saying that. Okay, top cancels with bottom, so I've got negative 1W. I'm going to put the 1 there because we're going to need it in a minute. Now on this one, top doesn't cancel with bottom, but I can do 4 divided by 2 is 2. So I can simplify it like that. Negative 9 times 2 is negative 18. My W is still not by itself. I have to divide by negative 1. But with inequalities, when you divide by a negative, you have to flip, multiply or divide by a negative. You have to flip the inequality. Top cancels with bottom. So it's not going to be a less than answer. It's going to be a greater than answer. Now over here, the negatives cancel because you have one top and one bottom. And 18 divided by 1 is 18. Again, for the next one, I'm going to move the negatives up top. Negative 5 over 4. My common denominator, or least common multiple between 8 and 4 is 8. I'm going to multiply each term by that. Top cancels with bottom, so I have negative 1x is greater than 8 divided by 4 is 2. So negative 5 times 2 is negative 10. Divide both sides by negative 1, remembering because you're dividing by a negative sign, a negative number to flip the inequality. So I've got x is less than 10 divided by 1 is 10.